This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
Grogu and I can feel each other's thoughts.
Grogu?
Yes, that's his name.
Moff Gideon, you have something I want. You may think you have some idea what you are in possession of, but you do not.
Bad baby. No, it's crazy.
I have a business proposition.
Shoot.
This youngling is my apprentice.
What does that have to do with me?
I'm a bounty hunter by trade. Now that he's with me, I'll be more selective in my assignments.
This is Vanessa Marshall, Harrison Dula from Star Wars Rebels, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, your family-friendly, spoiler-free Star Wars podcast where intelligent conversation and a splash of humor bring fans together from across the galaxy. I'm your host, Dan Zayer, educator and Star Wars author. Whether you are a lifelong Jedi Master or just hopped off your first Star Cruiser, grab your calf and join us as we explore the mythology, philosophy, and wonder of a galaxy far, far away. One conversation at a time. Coffee with Kenobi is more than a podcast. It's a community. Together we celebrate the people, stories, and experiences that make Star Wars so special, creating a space where fans can come together and share their voices. A few thank yous before we start the show. I want to thank Laurel and Lena for listening to Coffee with Kenobi. Thank you so much, girls, and may the Force be with you. I also want to thank the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Check out coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefan-travel for a no-cost, no-obligation quote, and let them know Coffee with Kenobi and Dan Zayer sent you. On today's show, this is part 2 of our review of The Mandalorian and Grogu. Last week, we talked about the things that really worked for us about the movie and what we enjoyed so much about it. And this week, we're going to look at some of the criticisms of the film. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite mug, and let's have coffee with Kenobi. All right, so let's take a look. There are some criticisms, and I'm going to quote the great Dr. Greg Cass, who is on many Star Wars podcasts. I had the good fortune to be on the Long Take review where we talked about this movie in great detail. So be sure to check that out as well. One of my favorite expressions that he says is, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. So even though we're going to critique some things or talk about things that didn't work for us, you know, that's a separate thing. If other people like it or it didn't feel that way, that is glorious. That is wonderful. And I applaud that. And I also want to feel like it's fair to say, because we know some of the people who worked on this film, that making a movie is really, really, really hard. They're so much better and smarter at it than I am. And my criticism is purely comes from the lens of being a longtime teacher of literature. So that's kind of where I want to open before I do my TED Talk on the things that frustrated me about this movie. All right, Tom, I'm going to let you go first. I don't want to yuck your yum, as they say, but are there any parts of it that maybe didn't work for you as well?
There are two things that they kind of, I don't know, just didn't hit for me. And the first is, and I know this is probably not going to be a popular comment, but I was not a fan of Sigourney Weaver in the film. I thought she was flat. I felt like she was thoroughly annoyed with the Mandalorian at all times. Even when she told him good job, I felt like she as the character or the actress, I'm not sure which, was annoyed by him. And so I did not, when she was on screen, it just didn't really work for me. But even when she's flying in the X-Wing, she seems annoyed with him. So it just was kind of like beating up my guy. And so that was just it's a small thing, but that didn't work. And I'm not sure about, this just needs to grow on me, but the Rhoda the Hutt story I just don't know. I felt like in parts that Mando collapsed on his bounty hunting code by not turning him in. I mean, he did it with Grogu, but I was like, Grogu's a different sort of fellow than Rhoda the Hutt. And so I was kind of like, oh, he's really not going to turn him in. I don't know. I didn't hate it. it just didn't. It didn't land with me, I don't think, and maybe I just need time to let that story kind of sink into me. Those are the two things that really bother me the most.
I agree with you on Sigourney Weaver. I think she's obviously a legend, and I like her and everything. But in this, she definitely the performance felt disconnected to me from what was going on, and I don't know, that could be for a number of different reasons. But it kind of felt like sort of the classic criticism of some of the prequel action or actors in some ways, and some of that criticism I think is fair, some of it I think is unfair. I think Sigourney Weaver is great, but for whatever reason, she did not spring to life in this. And wouldn't it have been cool if Carrie Fisher was still around? I'm pretty sure she would have been playing this part. That's just my own opinion, but that would have been great. What do you guys think about Sigourney Weaver?
She didn't jar me as much as she did you. I thought she came across okay. I appreciate why she was annoyed, and I think there was a large dose of sarcasm when she said, "Good job, sure, Mando," and she's got a job to do, and she's seen the wider picture as to everything that's going on, and Mando's just one part of that. And she might have another dozen bounty hunters that she's working with, trying to capture ex Imperials from her deck of cards. So she's dealing with these people all the time, and she wants to just get the people that she needs to get the information so that she can further the New Republic's cause. So I think she was underused. I think that, for me, considering they bigged up her role so much, and she was in it for 3 minutes, maybe total.
If that. Mm-hmm.
So I think she was very much underused, and I would have liked to have seen more of her.
And Rada, real quick about Rada. Rada the Hutt is a fascinating design and character, and I think it's cool they carried that over from the Clone Wars film from many years ago. What, 2007, 2008? 8? Okay. But if Rada the Hutt is your emotional core to this entire film, that's problematic, and that is one of my problems.
His voice was too basic, and it needed some kind of gravel or something. It wasn't put through anything. It was too pure, and it needed something. When we heard the twins speak, we can hear that they're Hutts. We know that they're Hutts. They were derivative of what we've heard previously with Jabba. But when we heard Rotta speak, it was like we were talking to a friend, and that was wrong. It should have had something, and it needed that because it didn't quite fit for me. Every other
didn't sound like a Hutt.
Yeah.
My point about Sigourney, I think I agree with you guys. I feel like she was kind of placed there just as iconic role. Let's get someone here who is a name grab to some degree. Same thing with Rada the Hutt. I think it's Jeremy Allen
White from The Bear, yeah.
Which is, it's almost like, we'll do a friend a favor. Let's just put him in here and let him go at it. And I think that's fine too. I think it's okay. I think it's just more of like, it takes you out of the sequence. Like, I want to be immersed into it. I want to forget that it's that character or that person. And if they're a good actor, they can do that. I mean, I think
did it sound like his voice? Because I'm not as familiar with his work. Like, if I don't know if I would have picked out that voice.
He's not as familiar for me, but
okay.
Yeah, I think it's to your point. I think they put Sigourney Weaver in there kind of for the 80s vibe, right? I feel like that's kind of like, hey, let's just kind of harken back. Let's put one in there for the older fans or something like that. And I think what I would have appreciated, to your point too, James, was the fact, like, what is her role in this galactic mission? I would have nice to have had one bounty hunter conversation with her, and she kind of sloughs off on him, and then Mando walks in and does his deal, and you can see she's interworking with these little people groups, getting the job done, and her job is to do all these things, and not just one Mando. That's what I felt too. I feel like we're just working with one Mandalorian bounty hunter. Put somebody else in there that we can name grab or have a fun little scene with, and enjoy it. And so I think that's the hardest part, was putting her in there, and she didn't feel like she fit inside the sequence of the storyline itself.
Okay, that makes sense. James, what about you? What are some things, criticisms that you might present that maybe didn't work as well?
My daughter Miriam compared this very much to a video game. in a video game, you start a video game, you do the intro sequence, you then go to a bar or you go to a place where you collect your mission, you then go and do that mission, you go to a different place. And she felt it felt very, very sequenced in that way, very, very much like a video game would be. And the narrative for her, whilst she could understand everything that went on, that's how she likened it. And I can see that. I can see that point. I'm all for cameos. Cameos are great if they're used sparingly. I don't think the cameos here were used as sparingly as they could have been. I love the fact that we saw some of the directors of The Mandalorian and Doug Chang sitting at the table in Adelphi base, but we then didn't need a close-up of them as well. I think that's a bit too much. Seeing Dave's character sitting at the bar with his hat on, great, but then we don't need to see him piloting an X-Wing as well. Do one or the other. Use those things sparingly. So that was a bit, I loved it. Don't get me wrong, but I just think you shouldn't be using those as, like that, in my opinion. I just think it takes us out of it a little bit.
Totally fair. Totally fair. They should have showed us. We were on the same set for Adelphi base. They should have showed us.
Exactly.
Yeah. That was a bit of a time jump, so it probably didn't work out. All right, Cory, you and I probably talked the most about James and I have talked about it a lot on there, but tell me some of the criticisms you have of this, if any.
No, I think to your guys' point, anything that's being creative, I think criticism should have its place. I think we sometimes have gone a little soft on things. I think that's okay. I think to just enjoy it for enjoying its sake is great. But being critical, I think, is part of the game, and I think it should be welcomed. I think the first thing you guys saw the movie, first thing you talked after was the question of what'd you think? They want to know. Like that's the whole point. Like and they want to know the good and the bad and the ugly. They want to know all those things. I think it's one of those things that are okay to do. But for me, this felt like there were no stakes. Everything was very convenient. When there was peril, I just was waiting for the convenience to show up, and it did show up almost every single time. He escaped the snake pit. Grogu showing up on the little drainage pipe there, which is great. They found the wreckage of the old cruiser and got all the weapons were perfectly placed. Like great. Like okay, I understand, but like. And they flew the whole thing into the Hutts thing, and then the X-Wing showed up, and it just worked out perfectly. There was no biting the nails, the edge of your seat. And I know that these characters are beloved, but like it's okay to grow them a little bit. And the poison stuff, I knew he would come back, and it was never a moment where it was like, oh, this might be the end, because they alluded to that a little bit in the beginning of the sequence. I think when the Hutts were talking to Mando was like, you're going to die someday. He'll be by himself. I was like, okay, there might be something here. There might be something going on. And I thought that'd be a great risk. Let's put some risk out there. Put something out there. Get people talking. A moment. I think we're missing a Star Wars moment like we have had in the past with other films, other franchises. I look at MCU a little bit. Sometimes those moments, Captain America's raising Thor's hammer, and you're like, oh, it's a moment. It's small, but it works. It's the fans collectively raising their fists and going excited. I know the theater we were in was IMAX, and they lifted the helmet off of Mando, and I heard someone go, oh! And they're like, exactly, that's a moment. That's exactly how we should feel. I said, but take that one step further. Give us a moment in this film that says, I want to revisit that. Go see it again, because it was just so cool, and it works for these characters. I didn't get that, and that's my biggest flaw with this, is the fact that like it just kind of sits in Star Wars for me. Like it kind of exists, it's a great film. I had a great time. But I think it just kind of exists in Star Wars for me for now.
Two other quick things, actually, if you don't mind. Number one is the ending. Do we really have to always rehash A New Hope? We did that in the sequels. We did that here. Wasn't there another way that we could have destroyed the base? Or did we have to destroy the Hutt's palace? I mean, and did we have to do it with X-Wings? I mean, come on.
No.
Had 50 years to think of different ideas and different ways of doing that. Did we have to use the same thing again? So that I thought was a little bit lazy. And then I think the other thing that has always done Star Wars well at the cinema is rewatchability. We, as fans, will go and see a Star Wars film again and again and again and again. With this, you've seen it once or twice. Dan's been twice. He hasn't gone again. And I think that's going to hurt it at the box office. Because once you've seen it once or twice, you're done. There's nothing there that is furthering the story or moving things along. So there's nothing really to go back and watch again. And I think that's a problem. And maybe that was their whole intent with bringing this to the big screen, that they, after not having a Star Wars film on the big screen for almost 7 years, they wanted to have that content out there. And originally we know that the scripts for season 4 advanced the story with Thrawn and other characters, and they didn't want to do this here, because if they did that here, then that would make it really, really difficult for new people seeing the Mandalorian and Grogu on the screen for the first time to understand what was going on. So I think that was the trade-off. They've lost the rewatchability, but they've given new audiences the ability to go and see this film without any baggage. But I don't think you can necessarily have both, although saying that, and New Hope did it in 1977.
Right,
so.
which was the brand new start. So there was no expectation lofted onto that.
Yeah.
All right. I love all of your honest criticisms, and I think that's important. Like, you can still love something and still find things that maybe we would like to work better. I don't know if any of you remember, but the thing I said on our pre-show was, what do I want to see in this movie? I want to see a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. I want to see a story that must be told, that has to be told, and I want to see character growth. The Mandalorian is in the pantheon of Star Wars is a fairly nuanced, deep character. He learns a lot of things through his first 3 seasons, especially the first 2. He learns to let go of his past and his prior prejudices. He learns to love again. He learns to be a father figure. He learns to think of something beyond his credo. There's so many nuances to him, and it's all fascinating. In this movie, no characters grow. No characters change at all. And someone said, well, what about Grogu learning to survive by himself? That's not growth. That's not change. That's just basic human survival. He's saving his dad because he loves his dad, but he does a lot of that stuff in season 3 and in season 2 and even a little bit in season 1. That's not new. And there's zero growth with the Mandalorian at all. And so when we left, and I'm not going to speak for James, but I think you would probably agree with me, my colleagues in the world of Star Wars fan sites and podcasts all felt pretty much like this is a fun movie. It's a safe movie, but it doesn't add anything mythologically to this overall story. So then we ask ourselves, does it have to? All right. Does it have to? This is Star Wars on a big screen. Star Wars, the movie that created the buzz for cinema. Yes, Jaws did it, but this did it differently with action figures and marketing. And it created the sensation that did not die down. Still really hasn't died down. It's waxed and waned, certainly. But this is huge. And it's been 7 years since the Star Wars story. And then you give us something with no value mythologically or story-wise. Like, you can make something entertaining that is also smart. Assume that the fans are smart enough to figure that out. We really haven't seen anything that pushed the boundaries since The Last Jedi. And I'm talking on the big screen. Jerry can certainly say that about Andor. Andor wasn't fun. It was brilliant, but it wasn't fun. This is fun, but it's the opposite of brilliant. Does it have to be? Maybe not. If they really are making this just to bring in new fans, I'd say mission accomplished. No. But I think at the expense of forgetting the fans that are so deep into this lore, I think that's unfortunate. That definitely bothered me. Not so much that it's going to ruin my taste or anything, but I do think it's telling. And James alluded to this. This is the first Star Wars movie to come out in theaters that I did not see the opening day since Return of the Jedi. I didn't want to go back and see it. And the reason is what I said frustrated me. But more than that, this movie suffered tremendously from a lack of solid editing. The sequence, the 20 minutes with Grogu, has no human beings. It has almost no dialogue. And I found it so dull and boring. And I love Grogu, but there was just nothing going on. And it's so long. I think it would have served a lot more and could have said the same amount in a much less of a time, because ultimately, when I leave a movie, it doesn't have to be Hamlet or The Godfather. It doesn't have to make me rethink how I look and view the world. But I like at least some sort of an acknowledgement that I have something more to say beyond the surface of the story itself. And that does not exist. But if this were just on like Disney Plus or whatever, then I probably wouldn't be that concerned with it. But this is Star Wars on the big screen, like the spectacle of spectacles, and all we got was spectacle without any substance. That left me a little disheartened.
I think that's an honest take at it, Dan. I appreciate your honesty on that too. I think it's true in the fact that, like, I think the filmmaking is completely different now than it was back in 1977, right? So it's like we have a completely different landscape. To your point, it being a big, thing, if quote, I'm putting quotes, might not be anymore. We have a whole host of movies that come out in the same weekend now. We have multiple streaming applications. We have so many things to watch, YouTube, like so many different things to grasp our attention. And Star Wars is just a piece of the pie, and it's not that big anymore. And as far as cinema goes,
Depressing.
It's depressing, but also I think that's just the state we're in as moviegoers. And I think that's the part of what I think we've seen since kind of COVID had hit. We shut things down, and now we're coming back, and now things are just different. The landscape is just the way it is. If this would have debuted on Disney Plus, I think it would have done just exactly the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So to your point, I kind of half-heartedly agree, which is kind of hard to want to agree with that. I mean, you guys probably agree in the sense of like, I want this to succeed. I want to live for the moment. I want to go back and see it 15 times, and maybe that era of rewatchability has passed us, or we've just gotten too safe. To your end about the quote, and part of that is okay. I think it's okay to play it safe because you're trying to appease so many people, but maybe that's where we've missed the mark creatively.
It's a bummer because, like I said, if there were anything else, it's Star Wars, and we've already seen you can have a pop culture spectacle that marvels you and also makes you think. Sinners, every Spider-Man movie. There's so many to choose from. All the Avengers movies, they all have something to say, it's a story to tell. And this doesn't. Like, tell me a story that's worth telling on the big screen. Star Wars deserves that.
Same thing's happened with Marvel, because if you go back to since Endgame, there hasn't been a Marvel cinematic moment that I'd be able to pin my hat on.
Besides Spider-Man.
Until this year.
No Way Home.
Well, yeah, okay, but that came directly after Endgame, I guess. But no, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Not sure. Okay. I think the last Spider-Man film did well because of the nostalgia factor and the fact that it had all three Spider-Men in it. Mm-hmm. But that, and I appreciate it fits into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just about. But I think Endgame was really the last film for me in that I could have really, I came away feeling, wow, that was a moment. That was incredible. And pretty much every Marvel film since, up until probably this year with Doomsday, I feel pretty much the same. If I never saw them again, it wouldn't bother me. There's nothing there that has got a hook that's going to drive me back to watch it again and again. Mm-hmm. They were okay. Some of them were funny, but.
And again, this is Star Wars. It should mean there should be some weight to the narrative. You can still have it. No. All it takes is a couple of lines here or there, a couple of doubts. Maybe the Mandalorian struggles with, hey, I'm keeping this child safe, but should I be bringing him into all this action? And what if there's some sort of rebellion or resistance with that? There's a lot of ways you can go. And again, I'm not as smart as Jon Favreau, nor do I pretend to be. I'm just saying, as a teacher of literature, the fact that no character advancement is done on a character who's smart and capable of growth, That was a big misstep to me.
Look, I think Disney didn't want their first cinematic Star Wars release it would have been 8 years, almost 8, to be A New Hope back in cinemas. And I think that they were desperate to have a film in cinemas before then. So considering that our next cinematic Star Wars film is going back to A New Hope, albeit a 4K render of the original film, we hope, followed by maybe Empire and Jedi in the cinema as well, please, and then Starfighter. And I think Starfighter is the big bang and the Star Wars moment that we all expect it to be. But I don't think this was ever the tentpole, huge Star Wars moment.
Yeah.
And I don't either, but I don't think that either. And I never really expected more than how I felt. But I think, and I wish selfishly that it should have been. I think the story deserves that.
But this was a knee-jerk reaction. This was a knee-jerk reaction to the fact there's been no Star Wars in cinemas for however many years, and Disney
they're hungry. Let's give them some cotton candy. Yeah,
exactly. And they probably said to Lucasfilm, "What can you do?" And this is what they came up with. Yeah. And it's not a bad film.
No, it's not bad.
But it's fun. It's a fun popcorn movie, and if you take it for what it is, it's great. Yes. Is it going to set the world alight? No. Is it going to do $1 billion at the cinema? Absolutely not. Does it have the rewatchability factor? No. If you take it for what it is, great. Move on. Nothing more to see. And that's...
But doesn't that bother you a little bit?
It does. But then if you go back to the 80s when we had the two Ewok films...
Oh, boy. Yeah.
But no, seriously, they came off of the back of what probably the most successful trilogy of all time.
Yes.
And we got 2 cinematic releases that were mediocre at best. Mm-hmm. They were good. Do they have a rewatchability factor? No. I would actually liken this film to those because they filled a purpose at that moment in time. As does this. Maybe this is the appetizer for the main course next year.
Maybe.
Oh boy, I'd rather be hungry. But I know what you're saying, Tom. We've said a lot of things. What do you think about all this criticism?
No, I think it James really hit it there in that last comment, and that is, what was the purpose? And I don't know that any of us know. I mean, the two of you would probably know the most from being at that red carpet and talking and in those interviews. But it comes down to what was the purpose of it. I did not personally go to see Mandalorian to advance a story. I went to see what I expected, and that is what I got from Disney Plus. I was hoping it was going to be more of a launch from season 2 than season 3, which I thought it was. We didn't get mired into a story that didn't feel like it was going anywhere. And like you said, there was a beginning, a middle, and an end to this one. And which is, again, that's what I want from a Mandalorian story. I mean, we're looking at one guy in a big galaxy who his significance is that he has Grogu. That's the only thing that makes him different than we didn't talk about Embo or Boba Fett or, a lot of those other characters. The Mandalorian is one guy. And so I guess I do not disagree with you at all. It would have been awesome, Cory, to have that moment where that you were talking about, to have that thing that's the risk. Mm-hmm. We got really close to it. I really did think maybe that the Mando was going to be it. Especially when he has that conversation. And Dan, there's a literary term for the bayou lizard who's cooking fish that Grogu goes to, and he gives him that advice that the time for people comes. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's it. This is it. And I think would that have been the moment that you're looking for, Cory, that risk-taking moment?
Risk-taking would have been Mando leaving his helmet behind and pursuing forward.
Yes.
Okay.
Dropping his code to your end and saying, no, I'm no longer a fast shooting bounty hunter. I'm now a father figure that needs to protect because I know the stakes.
Getting smashed.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so right.
Because I need to make a face-to-face contact with my child to build a real relationship.
Yeah. Well, there's so much there because we've already set that in motion. If you watch the first 3 seasons, we know he can't do that, and he's earned that back. But yet now he realizes I need to do this. This isn't I fell off on accident. This is something I need to do. And plus, it gives us that solid moment that says, "Oh, this happened in this movie. Now moving forward, we have all these other adventures or whatnot, whatever it may be." So I feel like the other thing to my mind too. I think like these filmmakers are so good, but like. You're putting your stamp in the Star Wars universe. Make it a big one. Make it a blast. Because you might not get a chance. Make it just there's such a small scale, but everyone wants to be safe. One wants to make the money and do the thing and sell the toys, and that's great and fine too. But you will sell and do better when you tell a better story with characters that are richer and more beloved. So I completely agree.
So here's an interesting thing. If we had seen this movie before any of the seasons of The Mandalorian, I would not have this criticism.
Yes.
I would think, man, that was fun. I didn't really learn much about the characters, but that was fun. I hope there's more. Like that's how we would have felt. We've already got 24, what is it, 24 episodes of this character and his growth. Plus the Book of Boba Fett, the 3 episodes that he's in. So that's 27 episodes. We've learned a lot about him. And I just think
20 hours of television.
Yes. So there's a ton of stuff there. It's not a lot more work to add a little bit of salt and seasoning. And like, I can't believe that we would just, not we as in you guys, just the collective, we just people in general. Like they were like, oh, okay, that's fine. I certainly don't care about any substance. Look, it's Star Wars. It's not, like I said, it's not Shakespeare. I don't expect there to be a lot of substance and growth. Most of these films don't have a ton of that anyway, if we're being fully honest with ourselves, besides Last Jedi, Empire, Return of the Jedi, certainly Revenge of the Sith. The rest of them are like full of massive growth. Even Solo. That was my criticism of Solo. I love that movie. I think it's a blast. Han Solo doesn't change in that movie at all. But it didn't bother me as much because Solo is really sort of a flat character anyway. He changes a little bit in Empire, but not much. Mando has changed tremendously. He's probably the most nuanced character besides Anakin and Ahsoka. And I feel like that was just something that kind of frustrated me, but I think we probably made my point ad nauseum.
No, it's good. It's I wonder too sometimes too these Star Wars characters, Star Wars lens. You guys talk about MCU and stuff. Can a singular Star Wars person prop up a movie? Right? Can they figure out how to exactly to center around a singular character? I don't want to say Luke Skywalker, but it's just like I feel like you need an ensemble of some sort. You need different depictions, supporting cast, propping up a main character, and I think it works the best in Star Wars. So it's hard to do this singular focused film around a character who's very mysterious, and so
there's a lot there they can tap into.
I think they've got a lot to play with, and they're just kind of
and they safe. Didn't. And again. I want to say real quick, again, I take no pleasure in feeling this way. That doesn't make me happy. But I have to be honest from a critical standpoint about the things that hit me. And I'm not going to bash the movie. I'm going to recommend it. But there's going to be a caveat. If you just want to go and have some fun and eat some popcorn, this is the summer movie for you. And I think you'll enjoy yourself.
Would Lucasfilm and Disney have been better to have turned the first season of Maul Shadow Lord into a cinematic experience and putting that out in the cinema and leaving this to Disney Plus? Because I always said that the Maul series would do better than the Mandalorian and Grogu. And if you look at Star Wars fandom, I would say that Maul has been received better. Just look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. It's definitely been received better than this film.
Because it's set during the original series. Is that why? We're in a time period of.
It's after the Siege of Mandalore, so it's right at the beginning of the Empire's reign after Order 66.
Right, you've got a lot of character. Yeah, I don't know.
I think maybe except it's not live action, and I would argue that a lot of this isn't necessarily live action either because there's hardly any humans in it, and there's only one woman, and she doesn't do anything. If we're being really technical, that's a little concerning too.
No, there are some other women in there.
Oh, yeah, in the background. I mean,
Deborah Chow?
Yes, for 5 seconds. Yeah, that's true.
But if you go back to the original box office take of the Clone Wars movie, and I appreciate it wasn't great, I think it was 68 million at the box office. Would a Maul film have done better than that? And I think it would have done.
It would have been fun. It would have been fun to see.
I mean, there's reasons why we couldn't have a Maul live action film unless they recast Darth Maul, because obviously the actor is persona non grata for lots of different reasons. But don't know.
All right, let's give some final grades for the Mandalorian and Grogu. And any last minute thoughts? Tom, let's start with you.
I give this film an A. I was thoroughly entertained. My family went; they had a good time, which is the biggest thing and best thing for me. And even to a point where one of my daughters, who would probably tell her she could care less about Star Wars, wanted to return and see it. And so
Awesome.
I was thoroughly thrilled with that. And so I give it an A. And a final thought that I have is I'd like to see more Anzellans. They make me smile. I love the stop motion technique that they continue to use for those characters that just they're wonderful. So there you go.
I love it. And I said in my initial social media review before the actual review, Grogu fans are going to capital love it. And I was thinking of you. I was not wrong. And I'm glad for that. I'm glad for that. James, letter grade and final thoughts.
I'm going to give 2 lesser grades, and I'll explain why. For a summer blockbuster, I'll give it an A, because it's a good popcorn movie. If you're looking for something fun this summer season, go and see The Mandalorian and Grogu. You'll love it. For a Star Wars film on the big screen, I'll give it a B-, because whilst it was good and whilst it was fun, it was missing something for us diehard fans. There was no progression and all the other things that we've said over the last hour. So that's why I'm giving it two different grades.
Okay, I'll allow it. Cory.
Yeah, no, I think we talk probably more about this film, which makes it great. I think too, we could go on and talk about some of the characters we didn't talk about. Embo, I thought was great. Zeb was wonderful. It just seemed us are good. Would I go see the sequel? I think I would. I mean, why not? I mean, I think sometimes what can we build onto? So I'm not discounting, like you guys said, this isn't a great film. I think it's a great Star Wars film. Overall, I give it a B+. Because of the fact that you can go with anybody and watch it and have fun at the cinema, and your family can go and kids can go and have a great time. So forget the popcorn. Go see it.
I actually was thinking of this before James said that, but I have 2 letter grades as well. As just pure fun summer blockbuster, eat popcorn and make memories with your family, and go see the movie, and then go to Target and buy a figure, and then go swim in the swimming pool and talk to your friends and play Mandalorian in the front yard. A+. If I saw this movie when I was a kid, wow, right? I would just be through the moon. I'd be like I am now, basically. And just so excited about this story and this franchise and these incredible characters. So that's an A+.
Although, Dan, we haven't spoken about this at all, it hasn't been marketed at kids.
No, that's true, which is a misstep. Although maybe the toys might say otherwise, but I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. As a fan of Star Wars and just film in general and stories and storytelling, I care more about stories contextually than stories themselves for many, many, many reasons I won't bore you with now. I'd give it a very generous C. I'd be tempted to give it a C-.
Oh,
characters have to grow. I'm going to change it. Characters have to grow. Characters have to change to be. Otherwise, why am I spending my time with it? Because I can turn off my brain and be entertained. I've got plenty of comic books and movies that I've read and books I've read that show that. Like Reacher doesn't change or grow. I mean, a lot of these characters that I love don't change or grow. But it's Star Wars on the big screen, I think, and I'm not going to say deserve because that's just silly, but I was hoping for more. I knew I wasn't going to get it, so I'm not really disappointed because that's what I expected. But if I'm being honest, that's where I would throw this thing. And I still, if I was asked, if I had to re-rank the Star Wars movies, where would I rank this one? That might be a story for another time, but I still would put it above The Rise of Skywalker.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is... yes.
All right, Tom, thank you so much. I've been dying to know what you think about this film. Please let us know where people can hear your thoughts on what is going on in the world of Dungeons and Dragons and, of course, CWK Pour-Over.
Absolutely. Teachers in the Dungeon, join us there. That's the podcast that I'm on, co-host with Dan Ream. And we talk about the game of Dungeons and Dragons. We talk about role-playing games, interview authors. It's a ton of fun. And it's adventure not too unlike The Mandalorian and Grogu.
And what about CWK Pour-Over? What's going on with that show? I've heard it's good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Corey knows a lot about it too. CWK Pour-Over, we talk all pop culture over there, don't we, guys? And we're honest, we laugh a lot, or I laugh a lot anyway. So I definitely think that is worth it in and of itself.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Tom and James. One of the best parts about that whole trip was being able to spend a lot of quality time with you and Mason. We were a good trio. So please, thank you, most importantly, for being on the show. And please let us know what is going on in your world and with Jedi News.
So you can stay connected to all the latest Star Wars news 24/7, 365 days of the year at JediNews.com. And you can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, X, and lots of other platforms. Just search for Jedi News Network.
I always say it's my number one place for Star Wars news.
Thank you.
Corey, you, of course, are also the host of CWK Pour-Over. Tell us about what's going on in your world and where people can reach out to you if they want to talk to you about this film.
Yeah, you can reach out Cory C at coffeewithkenobi.com. Like the email still works. But we are CWK Pour-Over every week. We talk about comics, movies, video games, you name it. We probably talked about it, and we are hard pressed to come up with some more fun topics. But if you've got one, join the conversation over there. Jump in the CWK Cafe. Talk about your discussions there. Be a part of that show is the best way possible to get in touch with us and be just join the fun. So good times there.
Good times there indeed. And just like that, friends, our journey through the galaxy for today has come to a close. Thanks for listening to and supporting Coffee with Kenobi, where fans can come together to think, learn, and discuss this galaxy we all love. I'm truly grateful you chose to spend part of your day with me. Special thank you to James Burns, Cory Clubb, and Tom Gross for joining me both weeks to talk about the pros and cons of The Mandalorian. It's not really cons so much as, look, it's not always going to be perfect, and that's okay. And I think it's a healthy way to kind of get the dialogue out there and take an honest look, but still enjoy it for what it is, a truly fun, exciting movie. A special thank you to our official travel partner, MEI Travel and Mouse Fan Travel. Looking to plan your next magical vacation to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or even a Disney cruise? Want to explore Galaxy's Edge or attend Star Wars Celebration next year? Becky Mankin and her team will get you there with a no-cost, no-obligation quote and the kind of peace of mind we all appreciate. Learn more at coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with your fellow Star Wars friends. You can find us on social media or visit coffeewithkenobi.com for articles, merchandise, and more ways to connect. Until next time, I'm Dan Zare, and this is the podcast you're looking for. For all things Star Wars, news, reviews, videos, and more, head to our home base, coffeewithkenobi.com. Don't forget to join the CWK Cafe on Facebook at coffeewithkenobi.com/community, our family-friendly, spoiler-free group for all your Star Wars thoughts, comments, and conversation. This podcast is possible thanks to the incredible support of the CWK Alliance. Want to help keep the show brewing? For as little as $1 a month, you can join the CWK Alliance and get access to CWK Pour-Over, our exclusive weekly audio and video podcast. Learn more at coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. And know this, 10% of your monthly contributions goes directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital. Want to connect? You can email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com. Follow me on X at Mr. Zare, MRZEHR, Instagram, Threads, at DanZareCWK, and Blue Sky. I'm also on LinkedIn. You can follow Coffee with Kenobi across social media on X, Instagram, Threads, Pinterest, and Blue Sky, and give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. And if you want to send an email to the show, you can email us feedback@coffeewithkenobi.com. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll find over 700 videos, including past live shows, events, and this podcast. Please take a moment to rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps more Star Wars fans find our little corner of the galaxy. Do you need a speaker for your next event? Visit danzmedia.com. I love to discuss mythology, leadership, storytelling, or create something tailored to your audience. And finally, grab your CWK gear at coffeewithkenobi.com/shop and show your support in style.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.